There comes a moment in your life when you realize not everyone who smiles at you means well. Not everyone who claps when you win is clapping for you. Some people are clapping because they're relieved you didn't win more. You see, the most dangerous people are not the ones who openly declare war against you. It's the ones who sit at your table, eat with you, laugh with you, and secretly hope you choke on the very bread you shared. But today, we stop being fooled. Today, we stop being manipulated. Today, we learn how to outsmart those who wear masks and play roles. Let me give you 7 powerful strategies that will not only protect your peace, they'll sharpen your spirit, strengthen your mind, and remind you who the real enemy is. And it's not you. Number 1, trust what you feel, not just what you see. Sometimes the heart picks up on what the eyes can't see. You may be surrounded by people who seem warm, friendly, supportive, even loving, but deep inside something feels off. That sinking feeling in your gut, that subtle tension in your chest. It's not paranoia, it's your spirit sounding the alarm. We are so conditioned to look for visual proof, to depend on evidence that can be seen or touched. But the truth is, some of the most dangerous manipulations come wrapped in smiles, fake concern, and perfectly crafted words. Toxic and manipulative people are not always loud or aggressive. Often, they're subtle. They praise you in public and belittle you in private. They act like they care, but only when it serves them. And if you're not in tune with your inner voice, you'll miss the signs until the damage is done. You'll doubt yourself. You'll question your reactions. You'll replay conversations over and over, trying to find where you went wrong. But the truth is, you didn't. You just ignored what your heart was trying to tell you. It's time to stop second-guessing your instincts. They're not random, they're not broken, they are sacred, and they are trying to protect you. You see, manipulative people are professionals at deception. They know how to disguise criticism as concern. They'll call it helpful advice while chipping away at your self-esteem. They'll say things like, "I'm just being honest," when really they're just being cruel. And if you're not rooted in what you feel, if you rely only on how things look, you'll fall for the performance. You'll buy into the illusion, because outwardly they may show support, outwardly they may offer gifts, time, and even affection. But all of it is currency. They invest in you only so they can own a piece of your mind later. Trusting what you feel means learning to recognize when something doesn't align with your peace, even if there's no concrete reason yet. Your intuition is a spiritual compass. It alerts you before your logic catches up. And too often we silence it. We shame ourselves for being too sensitive or too emotional. But let me tell you, emotions are not weakness. They are data. And if you listen closely, they'll reveal what the eyes cannot. When you're around toxic people, your body knows before your brain does. Pay attention to how you feel after a conversation. Do you feel drained, anxious, confused? That's not coincidence. That's energy speaking. We're so used to analyzing words that we forget to observe impact. A manipulator's words may sound comforting, but if you walk away from them questioning your worth, something's wrong. They may tell you they love you, yet you constantly feel like you're walking on eggshells. They may pretend to celebrate your success, but deep down you can sense resentment in their tone, even when their mouth says congratulations. The human spirit was not made to live in a state of constant doubt. You're not overreacting. You're not broken. You're responding to real spiritual friction. That quiet unease you feel is your soul trying to steer you away from danger. Don't ignore it. Don't justify their actions while sacrificing your own clarity. Stand firmly in your truth, even if you can't explain it yet. What you feel matters more than how they act. We often get stuck because we're looking for proof that may never come. Toxic people are great at covering their tracks. They twist stories, shift blame, and always find a way to make you question your own memory. If you rely only on what you see, you'll be gaslit into submission. But your feelings hold the truth. Your intuition records what your logic tries to dismiss. You may not be able to point to a moment or quote their exact words, but your discomfort is real. It's not something you made up. It's your inner world crying out for safety, for honesty, for alignment. Trusting what you feel doesn't mean being irrational. It means being brave enough to stand in your own experience. It means you don't need permission to protect your peace. It means you don't need evidence to set a boundary. You don't owe anyone access to your spirit just because they haven't technically done anything wrong. Sometimes wrong isn't in the action, it's in the intention behind it. And your soul can always tell. There's a danger in always giving people the benefit of the doubt when it comes at the cost of doubting yourself. Manipulative people use that against you. They play the long game. They test your boundaries. They give just enough to keep you hoping for more. They confuse you with inconsistency, kind today, cold tomorrow. And then they make you feel guilty for reacting. But let me remind you, clarity is not always about logic. It's about alignment. If your spirit doesn't feel safe, stop explaining it. If your heart feels tight around someone, that's a warning. And I know it's hard, especially when it's someone close, someone you trusted, someone who once meant something. But love without safety is not love. Connection without respect is not real. And if the only way to keep someone in your life is to betray your own feelings, that is not a relationship, that is a trap. You have to understand that feelings are a form of wisdom. They carry messages from the part of you that still remembers your worth. The part of you that has seen enough pain to know what it smells like even before it fully arrives. And when that feeling comes up, don't rush to silence it. Don't drown it in distractions or dismiss it in the name of being nice. Trusting your feelings is not about paranoia. It's about preservation. When you notice a pattern of discomfort around someone, you don't owe them more chances to hurt you. You owe yourself the gift of peace. You owe yourself the courage to walk away before it gets worse. Because the longer you stay, the more your spirit starts to shrink. The more you tolerate, the more numb you become to your own inner voice. And before long, you forget how to hear yourself altogether. The enemy of discernment is doubt. And toxic people know how to plant it in your mind like a seed. They'll say, you're imagining things. You're too emotional. That never happened. And slowly, they train you to ignore your own feelings. They build a version of reality that benefits them and punishes you. But you have a choice. You can choose to reclaim your narrative, to stop silencing the part of you that knows when something feels wrong, it is. When something feels heavy, it is. Don't wait for others to validate what your spirit has already confirmed. Not everyone deserves to be in your life just because they want to be. You have the right to filter access based on how someone makes you feel, even if you can't fully explain why. That's not being cold, that's being wise. We live in a world that tells us to trust logic, reason, and hard evidence. But some of the greatest heartbreaks happen not because we lack logic, but because we ignored the subtle emotional signs. Trusting what you feel requires courage. It means you may have to walk away before you get closure. It means you may have to say goodbye to people you once loved. It means letting go of the fantasy you built in your head. And yes, it hurts. But what hurts more is staying connected to people who slowly poison your peace. What hurts more is betraying yourself for the sake of appearing reasonable. Your soul was not created to be reasonable. It was created to be whole, to be honest, to be alive. So when something feels wrong, pause, listen, reflect. You don't have to act immediately, but you do have to acknowledge it. You owe it to yourself to check in before you check out. You owe it to your future to trust your inner compass now. Because the truth is, manipulators don't change just because you love them harder. They change only when they're exposed. And you can't expose someone if you keep pretending they're safe. Your feelings are not inconveniences. They are your armor, they are your map, and they will lead you to freedom, but only if you stop ignoring them. You are not paranoid, you are perceptive. You are not dramatic, you are discerning. You are not emotional, you are aware. And it's time to start living like it. The moment you trust what you feel is the moment you reclaim your power. Because no one can manipulate a person who knows their truth. No one can control a soul that listens to its own voice. And no one can break a spirit that refuses to silence its intuition. You are stronger than the illusions they throw at you. You are wiser than the lies they whisper. And when you start trusting what you feel, the mask falls, the truth rises, and you finally walk in the power of who you really are. Number 2, stop explaining your worth to people who already decided to misunderstand you. There comes a moment in your life when you must realize that not everyone is meant to understand you, appreciate you, or accept your growth. And that moment is the beginning of your freedom. You don't need to exhaust your soul trying to prove your heart to people who have already made up their minds to twist it. You don't need to fight for your value in conversations where the other person is committed to misrepresenting your character. The more you try to explain yourself to people who don't want to understand, the more you betray yourself in the process. Because at some point, it's not about clarity, it's about control. Some people aren't confused by who you are. They're intimidated by it. They misunderstand you on purpose. They downplay your worth because they know if they ever admitted the truth about your strength, your resilience, your kindness, they'd have to confront the weakness in their own reflection. Understand this, your worth is not up for debate. It's not a negotiation. It's not a courtroom trial. You don't need to present evidence, build a case, or beg for understanding. You are not on the witness stand. You are the testimony. Your life, your energy, your consistency, that's your proof. And if someone refuses to see it, that's not your problem to fix. That's their blindness to carry. People who are committed to misunderstanding you will always twist your words. You'll say something in love and they'll call it pride. You'll set a boundary and they'll call it disrespect. You'll speak your truth and they'll label it arrogance. But their labels don't define your legacy. Their small perception doesn't change the size of your purpose. And if you keep trying to explain yourself, you'll shrink every time just to make them comfortable. You were not born to convince small minds of your big spirit. Some people are threatened by authenticity. Your transparency unsettles them because it reveals what they've tried to hide in themselves. Your growth disturbs them because it reminds them of their stagnation. Your peace irritates them because they thrive on drama and confusion. So instead of celebrating you, they criticize you. Instead of learning from you, they reject you. But not because you're wrong, because your presence is a mirror they'd rather shatter than look into. And that's why it's time to stop talking, stop explaining, stop begging people to see your heart. If they wanted to understand, they would. But their confusion is not innocent. It's intentional. They don't need clarity, they need control. And every time you try to clarify your worth to them, you hand them that power. Let this sink in. People who love you don't need long explanations to see your heart. They feel it. They recognize your effort, your intentions, your struggles, even when you stumble. But people who secretly resent you will look for flaws, twist your motives, and act like your past is more important than your present. And the more you try to correct their false image of you, the more you get trapped in their narrative. But you don't have to live in someone else's version of your life. You don't have to play the role they wrote for you. You have the right to walk out of that script and write your own story, with or without their approval. Because your purpose doesn't require a permission slip. Every time you lower your voice to explain yourself to someone who's committed to misunderstanding you, you dilute your message. You step out of your lane, you lose time, energy, and focus. And for what? So someone who already decided you're not enough can pretend to listen while secretly sharpening their judgment behind your back? No more. Your spirit deserves rest. Your voice deserves to rise, not shrink. You don't need to explain why you walked away from toxicity. You don't need to justify your healing. You don't need to apologize for growing into someone they can no longer control. If they truly cared about you, they would have asked deeper questions. If they truly loved you, they would have listened instead of labeling. And if they truly valued you, they wouldn't make you prove yourself just to stay in their life. There's peace on the other side of silence. When you stop explaining your worth, you stop inviting confusion. You stop opening the door to people who only knock to throw stones. You stop reliving old wounds, trying to get closure from people who benefit from your pain staying open. Your worth is not found in who listens, it's found in who walks with you. And not everyone will. That's okay, let them go. Bless them silently. But stop carrying their misunderstanding like a weight on your soul. It's not your burden to explain. It's your calling to rise. The right people will never require you to minimize yourself to be loved. The right people will never punish you for evolving. They won't treat your growth as betrayal. They'll honor it. They'll match it. And until those people arrive, or while you continue walking with the few who do, choose to be your own validation. Let your peace be your proof. Let your joy be your defense. Let your healing be your answer. You owe no one an explanation for being exactly who God called you to be. Number 3, watch how they react when you set a boundary. Let me tell you something real. You don't truly know someone until you tell them no. Until you say, this is where it ends. This is what I won't tolerate anymore. That's when masks fall. That's when truth shows up. Because anyone can smile when you're bending. Anyone can praise you when you're easy to manipulate. But the moment you stand up for yourself, the moment you build a wall around your peace, they either respect it or they reveal they were only around because they could cross lines unchecked. People love the version of you that doesn't question, that stays silent, that gives and gives even when you're running on empty. But the moment you start reclaiming your voice, watch them. Watch how their tone changes. Watch how their affection turns cold. Watch how they go from praising you to punishing you. Just because you finally decided to love yourself out loud. See, boundaries are not about control. They're about respect. They're not a wall to push people away. They're a doorway to invite in only what's healthy. But unhealthy people, oh, they hate locked doors. They hate not having free access to your peace, your time, your energy. When you set a boundary, you're not being selfish. You're protecting the best parts of yourself. And the ones who get offended, they're the ones who were benefiting from your lack of one. Let that sink in. If someone truly cares for you, your boundary won't be a threat. It'll be an invitation. An invitation to do better. An invitation to grow alongside you. Real love doesn't crumble under boundaries. It adjusts. It listens. It honors. But manipulation throws a tantrum. It guilt trips you. It accuses you. It tells you that you're being too much, too cold, too distant. Not because you are, but because their power over you is fading. And that's what this is really about, power. People don't always want connection. They want control. And when your boundary removes that control, they panic. They change. They lash out. But that's not your cue to back down. That's your confirmation that the boundary was necessary in the first place. Don't second guess yourself just because someone got loud when you got strong. Don't retreat into guilt because someone painted you as the villain for protecting your own soul. You have every right to choose who has access to you. Every right to say, no, I will not carry this anymore. Every right to say, I deserve more than breadcrumbs and backhanded compliments. Because your peace is sacred. Your time is sacred. Your energy is not a playground for people to stomp around in whenever they feel like it. And let me be clear, setting boundaries is not cruelty, it's clarity. It's standing in front of the storm and saying, you don't get to shake me like this anymore. It's saying, I love you, but I love me too. And anybody who loves you will understand that. They might not agree with the boundary at first, but they'll respect it. Why? Because they value the connection more than they value control. But the ones who don't, the ones who flip on you the moment you say enough, let them show you who they are. Don't argue, don't beg, don't explain, just observe. Observation is power. The moment you stop explaining and start watching, the truth shows up, loud and clear. People can fake kindness, they can fake care, but they cannot fake their reaction when you choose yourself. You'll see the ones who disappear when they can't drain you anymore. The ones who start talking behind your back when they no longer have access to your loyalty. The ones who say you've changed when really you just stopped tolerating their disrespect. Let them say it. Let them walk. Let them call you whatever they need to justify their absence. But you keep your peace, you keep your standard, you keep your boundary right where it is, and you reinforce it with grace, not guilt. You owe it to the version of you that cried quietly for years, that kept saying yes when your soul was screaming no. You owe it to the younger you who thought love meant sacrificing yourself. You owe it to the healed you that's still becoming. This life you're building, this peace you're protecting, it's worth guarding. And not everyone deserves access to it. Watch how they react, because reactions reveal reality. And when people show you who they are, don't try to repaint the picture. Believe them, bless them, and move on. Number 4, learn to sit in silence without giving them access to your mind. There's a power, a sacred, unshakable power in silence. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of weakness, but the silence of control, of mastery, of deep inner strength. Because when you learn to sit in that silence, when you learn to breathe in it, to own it, you discover that peace isn't found in noise. It's found in restraint. It's found in not reacting when everything in you wants to scream. It's found in not explaining when they're throwing arrows of doubt, disrespect, and manipulation. You see, some people want access to your mind, not to understand it, but to disturb it. They want to live rent-free in your thoughts. They want you second-guessing, doubting, spinning in circles. Why? Because if they can't control your actions, they'll try to control your thoughts. If they can't own your body, they'll try to hijack your mind. And that's why silence is your weapon. Not everything deserves a response. Not every jab deserves a counterpunch. Sometimes the greatest show of strength is no show at all. You've got to learn how to sit still and hold your peace while everything around you tries to pull you into chaos. You've got to learn how to let people talk, let them twist, let them mock, let them provoke, and still keep your crown steady. Because when you give people access to your mind, you give them the steering wheel to your soul. And some folks don't want to help you drive forward. They just want to run you off the road. Don't let them. You don't owe everyone your attention. You don't owe them a reaction just because they demanded one. You are not a puppet pulled by emotional strings. You are not here to defend your every move to people who never cared for your truth in the first place. The moment you start to argue with someone committed to misunderstanding you, you step off your throne just to wrestle in the mud. And you don't belong there. You belong in stillness, in clarity, in purpose. There's a reason lions don't flinch when small animals bark. Because real power doesn't perform. Real peace doesn't panic. And when you learn to sit in silence, when you learn to keep your energy to yourself, you stop bleeding your sanity for people who wouldn't give you a drop of understanding. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them assume. Your silence is not weakness, it's strategy. It's discipline. It's proof that your peace matters more than their opinion. You don't have to prove your point to people who've already decided you're the villain in their story. You don't have to fix the narrative when they're committed to writing a script of confusion and blame. Let them be loud. Let them perform. You stay grounded. Stay rooted. Stay quiet. Because silence protects your spirit like armor. There's a special kind of dignity in not explaining yourself, in walking away without the last word, in smiling when they expect you to break, in healing in private, in leveling up without announcing it. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to match their energy. That's their game. And you didn't come here to play. You came here to elevate. Let me tell you something. The world will try to provoke you. Toxic people will try to bait you. They'll say things just to see if they still have the keys to your mind. But the moment you learn to sit in silence, with your head high, your soul intact, and your mind guarded, you win. Because the goal was never just to be right. The goal is to be free. You want peace? Guard your mind. You want clarity? Protect your thoughts. You want strength? Master the art of quiet endurance. Because your mind is the most sacred space you'll ever own. And you don't give everyone access to your home. So why give them the keys to your head? Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them stay confused. That's not your burden to fix. You know your heart. You know your intentions. You know the battles you've survived in silence when no one was watching. That's your truth. And it doesn't need their permission to be valid. So today, sit in silence like royalty, like a soul that knows its worth, like a warrior that doesn't need to swing at every shadow. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be at peace with yourself. And once you taste that silence, the kind that no one can disturb, you'll never go back to explaining yourself again. Number 5, document patterns, not promises. Let me tell you something that might shake your core. Promises mean nothing without the proof to back them up. Anyone can stand in front of you and speak sweet words, make grand declarations, and feed you visions of a future full of change, love, and redemption. But words are cheap when they don't walk hand in hand with action. And in a world full of smooth talkers and emotional manipulators, you've got to train your eyes to see patterns, not promises. Because promises are spoken in moments of guilt or desire, but patterns are lived in moments of truth. And if someone's pattern is inconsistency, avoidance, disrespect, or deception, no amount of promises will change the reality of who they've chosen to be. It's easy to fall for words when your heart is hurting. Easy to want to believe that someone will finally do right by you, especially after they say all the right things. But the truth is, the people who hurt you most are often the best at making promises. They apologize with tears, swear it'll be different, beg you to forget what they did until you give them another chance. And what do they do with it? They repeat the very same thing they swore they'd never do again. That's not growth. That's not love. That's manipulation masked as hope. And you got to learn to step back from the emotional pull and start documenting reality. Stop collecting promises in your heart. Start collecting evidence with your eyes. You see, patterns don't lie. A pattern is the fingerprint of a person's character. It's what they do when nobody's watching. It's how they treat you when there's nothing to gain. Patterns are consistent even when their words are not. And if someone has shown you again and again that they don't value you, believe them. If they've broken your trust repeatedly and expect you to wipe the slate clean because of a few kind words, believe the pattern, not. Because the truth is, when someone values you, they don't just say it, they show it. And not just once, over time, through effort, through follow-through, through their willingness to change, not just talk about change. How many times have you been hurt by the same person because you gave more weight to their promises than to their patterns? How many times have you found yourself in that same emotional loop? Hope, disappointment, apology, repeat. It becomes a cycle. A cycle that trains you to ignore your instincts, to betray your own boundaries, to minimize the pain because they didn't mean it. But listen to me, meaning well is not enough. Love without respect is not love. Commitment without consistency is not commitment. And remorse without change is manipulation. Don't get trapped in the illusion of potential. Start observing reality. You don't need to announce that you're documenting patterns. You don't need to confront them with every detail. Just watch. Just take mental notes. When they're late again, when they break their word again, when they ghost you again, when they raise their voice again, when they twist the truth again. Don't argue. Just document. Because the more you watch, the more you'll see, and the clearer it becomes who they really are beneath the charm, beneath the excuses, beneath the temporary effort they make when they feel like they're losing you. Some people treat you well only when they're afraid of losing access to you. That's not love, that's control. There's a quiet strength in becoming a person who watches instead of reacting. You stop needing to be convinced. You stop begging for change. You stop getting pulled into emotional manipulation because now you're grounded in what's real. You've learned to step outside of the dream they keep selling and into the truth of their behavior. And in that truth, you find clarity, you find power. Because when someone shows you who they are consistently, your job isn't to rewrite them, it's to believe them. The moment you start documenting patterns, you begin healing from illusions. You start seeing that love is not about how loud someone says they care. It's about how consistently they show up. You realize that change doesn't come from pressure or pleading. It comes from within. And if it's not coming from within them, no amount of loyalty from you will force it. You can't love someone into changing. You can't cry someone into healing. You can't suffer enough to make them realize your worth. If they don't see it in your silence, they won't see it through your sacrifice. And let me say this with love and truth. Some people don't need another chance. They need a consequence. Some people only start reflecting when access is denied. And that's not your job to teach through pain. That's your cue to protect your peace. Because your job is not to stay and suffer while someone figures it out. Your job is to honor yourself enough to say, I've seen enough. Your job is to choose yourself even when your heart wants to believe again. Because peace comes when you stop trying to change the pattern and start changing your position in their life. When you operate from a place of emotional maturity, you stop needing closure from people who live in confusion. You stop chasing apologies and start chasing truth. You no longer need them to say, I'm sorry, because their pattern already told the story. And you become a person who doesn't just hear, you observe. You observe how they treat you when you're vulnerable. You observe how they behave when you need support. You observe how they handle conflict, how they handle your no, how they show up when it's inconvenient. That's where the truth lives. That's the data, and that's what you base your decisions on. So from now on, don't ask for more promises. Don't ask for more chances. Just sit back and watch. Keep your heart open, but your eyes wider. Learn the power of quiet awareness. Don't fight to be understood. Don't argue to be loved. Just document the pattern and decide accordingly. Because at the end of the day, you are not here to carry the burden of someone else's repeated disrespect. You are not here to keep handing out grace at the expense of your own healing. You are here to grow. You are here to protect your spirit. And the greatest act of self-respect is to believe what people do, not just what they say. And when you start living from that truth, when you hold on to patterns instead of promises, you'll find peace. You'll stop over-explaining. You'll stop overthinking. You'll stop hoping someone will wake up and suddenly become what they never chose to be, because now you've got evidence. Now you've got clarity, and that clarity will break every chain that sweet words ever placed around your heart. So remember this. It's not about what they said. They all say something. It's about what they did over time. Let that be your guide. Document the pattern, trust the pattern, walk in truth, and never again lose yourself in promises that never had a foundation. Number 6, don't fight for a spot in their life. The right ones will make room. There comes a point in your life where you get tired of begging, tired of chasing people who only come around when it benefits them, tired of proving your worth to people who should have seen it from the beginning. And in that tiredness, something powerful begins to awaken in you. Dignity. You begin to realize that love, true love, doesn't have to be fought for like a battlefield. It's offered freely. It's reciprocated naturally. And when someone truly values you, there is no guessing game. You don't have to decode their silence or beg for a moment of their time. You don't have to audition for a role in a life you were never meant to compete for. You were born worthy, and the right ones will recognize that without needing to be convinced. You see, when someone cares about you, they make room for you. They rearrange their schedule. They answer your calls. They respond to your energy. They don't keep you wondering where you stand. You don't feel like an outsider in their story because they invite you into their world without hesitation. You don't have to shrink yourself, mute your feelings, or downplay your needs just to stay in their good graces. Real connection doesn't operate off of scarcity. It thrives in abundance. Abundance of effort, attention, and presence. And the ones who truly love you, they will always make you feel safe in their space. Not like you're walking on eggshells, hoping they don't push you out. Far too many people are living their lives trying to fit into places they were never meant to be. They chase the emotionally unavailable. They fight to keep doors open that God has been trying to close. They bend, twist, and break themselves just to be enough for someone who never intended to give them a full seat at the table. That is not love. That is not loyalty. That is self-abandonment disguised as devotion. And every time you silence your voice just to keep the peace, you are training yourself to settle for scraps when you were meant to be feasting on love that honors your soul. The people who belong in your life will never ask you to beg for a place in it. They'll see you, they'll feel your spirit, and they'll meet you with energy that feels like home. You won't have to guess if they care. You won't have to overextend yourself to be remembered, because the truth is, when people care about you, they don't forget about you. They don't ignore you for days and then expect you to be okay with breadcrumbs. They don't disappear when things get tough. They stay. They show up. And they make space for your presence in their life, intentionally, consistently, and joyfully. Stop fighting for a spot where your absence goes unnoticed. You deserve more than being an afterthought. You deserve to be prioritized. And I know it's hard to walk away from someone you love. I know it's hard to release the hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll wake up and choose you the way you've been choosing them. But hear me clearly. Love doesn't hide. Love doesn't confuse. And the right people won't leave you doubting your worth. If you have to keep reminding someone that you matter, that's your sign. You don't matter to them the way they matter to you. And that's not a reflection of your value. That's a reflection of their capacity. There is a quiet freedom that comes when you finally stop fighting for the wrong people, when you stop begging to be chosen, when you stop showing up for people who don't show up for you. It's not bitterness. It's not revenge. It's clarity. It's emotional sobriety. It's the realization that the more you fight for a spot in someone's life, the more you forget your own worth. Because the more you chase them, the more you abandon yourself. And you were never meant to live life chasing people. You were meant to attract the ones who resonate with your spirit, who honor your energy, and who make space for your presence without hesitation. Let this sink deep into your heart. You don't need to convince the right people to love you. You don't need to perform to be kept. You don't need to water yourself down to be accepted. When someone truly sees you, your very existence is enough. Your presence, your essence, your truth, it's all enough. You don't have to keep knocking on doors that remain closed. You don't have to keep lighting yourself on fire to keep others warm. If they wanted you in their life, really wanted you, their actions would reflect it. Period. People make time for what they value. They make room for who matters. And I want you to remember this. Not everyone who walks away is a loss. Sometimes it's a divine redirection. Sometimes the very person you're begging to stay is the one blocking your peace, your growth, and your healing. Sometimes their absence is the gift. Because when you stop giving your all to the wrong people, you finally make room for the right ones to walk in. And the right ones, they'll never make you question your place in their life. They'll welcome you with open arms, with open hearts, with open space. Not just when it's convenient, but always. So don't fight for a spot. Don't lower your voice just to be heard. Don't shrink your light just to fit into someone else's shadows. The right people will see your light and move toward it. They will celebrate it, protect it, and reflect it. Let them come. Let the ones who see you find you. And for the ones who keep you guessing, let them go. Release them with grace and reclaim your peace, because your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to recognize it. Your worth is not up for debate. And the moment you stop fighting to be chosen, you'll start choosing yourself. And that's where real freedom begins. There is someone out there, friend, partner, soul tribe, who is already praying for someone like you. Someone who will meet you with the same depth, the same loyalty, the same presence, but they can't find you while you're stuck trying to fit into a space that was never meant for you. So take a deep breath, stand up, and walk away from anything that makes you question your place. You're not hard to love. You've just been trying to bloom in the wrong garden. The right ones won't make you fight for soil. They'll make room for all of you. And they'll thank God every day that you walked into their life. Number 7, remember, their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. There comes a moment when you must stop internalizing the way people treat you. Not because it doesn't hurt, not because it doesn't sting, but because the truth is, it was never really about you in the first place. The harsh words, the silent treatment, the coldness, the disrespect, it all speaks volumes about them, their wounds, their mindset, their emotional maturity. You have to stop owning what was never yours. Their inability to love you right, to treat you with dignity, to be honest with you, those are not measurements of your worth. That's a mirror into their character. That's a loud announcement of their brokenness. And if you carry that burden as if it's your fault, you will slowly destroy the most innocent parts of your soul. People will project onto you what they haven't dealt with inside themselves. A person filled with pain will spew pain. A person drowning in insecurity will try to make you doubt yourself. Someone who doesn't know how to value love will mishandle yours. But that's not your shame to carry. That's not your story to wear. The danger comes when you begin to believe their behavior is somehow a verdict on your identity. When you start thinking you're not good enough, not lovable enough, not worthy enough, just because someone who couldn't love themselves failed to love you. And that's where your healing begins, when you separate your truth from their wounds. When you start recognizing that the way they treat you isn't a reflection of how small you are, but of how small their capacity is. People who haven't done the inner work will always leave destruction behind, not because you're difficult to love, but because they are unskilled in love, because they run from what's real, because they self-sabotage, because they've been so used to chaos. Peace makes them uncomfortable, so they lash out. They ghost. They manipulate. And if you're not careful, you'll take that personally and start turning their brokenness into your identity. But listen to me. You are not responsible for someone else's emotional mess. You are not obligated to shrink yourself just to fit into someone's dysfunction. The moment you begin to accept that someone's poor treatment of you isn't a reflection of you, you reclaim your power. You no longer allow their words to dictate your worth. You stop dancing around their mood swings. You stop trying to heal what you didn't break. That is freedom. That is peace. That is the beginning of a life where you no longer carry burdens you were never built to hold. You see, emotionally healthy people don't destroy others. People who love themselves don't go around tearing others down. They build, they honor, they uplift. And if someone is consistently making you feel small, worthless, or confused, you don't need to analyze what's wrong with you. You need to evaluate what kind of internal war they're losing. Because only hurt people hurt people. Only insecure people attack others to feel powerful. Only emotionally immature people ghost, manipulate, and gaslight. And you cannot fix that. You cannot love someone into wholeness if they're committed to their brokenness. This doesn't mean you shouldn't reflect or grow. It doesn't mean you're perfect or beyond reproach. But there's a difference between accountability and self-blame. There's a difference between honest self-reflection and toxic guilt. You can be imperfect and still not deserve to be mistreated. You can have flaws and still be worthy of respect. Don't let the pain they dumped on you become the lens through which you see yourself. Don't start narrating your life with their twisted version of your story. You have the power to rewrite the script. You have the right to believe in your goodness, even if they never could see it. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is emotional detachment from the behavior of toxic people. Not coldness, not bitterness, but clarity. The clarity to see that not everything is about you, that some people will treat you badly no matter how kind, loyal, or loving you are, because they are at war within themselves. And until they find peace, they will always bring pain. That's not yours to fix. That's not your battle to fight. Your job is to protect your peace. Your job is to stand in your truth. Your job is to stop absorbing the damage and start drawing the line. You have to let go of the need to be understood by people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Some people need you to be the villain in their story so they can feel like the victim. Some people will twist your intentions just to avoid facing their own behavior. And if you stay too long trying to explain, trying to prove, trying to win them over, you'll lose yourself in the process. You'll lose your light. And no relationship, no friendship, no bond is worth that kind of sacrifice. Not when the cost is your soul. Not when the price is your peace. It's okay to walk away with your truth intact. It's okay to outgrow people who refuse to grow. It's okay to choose yourself, even if that makes you the bad guy in their narrative. Because you're not here to be someone's emotional punching bag. You're not here to constantly question your value because someone else refuses to recognize it. You're here to live fully, love deeply, and protect your spirit. And part of that means understanding this key truth. How they behave is about them. How you respond is about you. And when you choose peace over proving, when you choose self-worth over self-doubt, you rise. You rise beyond the pain, beyond the projection, beyond the poison. So stop letting their behavior define you. Stop letting their silence, their cruelty, their neglect write your story. That's their story, not yours. You are not cold just because they went distant. You are not unworthy just because they couldn't love you. You are not weak just because they tried to overpower your voice. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are powerful, worthy, and whole, even if they never told you so. And the more you remind yourself of that truth, the less room their lies will have in your heart. Their behavior, that's a reflection of them. Always has been, always will be. There comes a time in your life when survival isn't enough. You have to rise. You have to wake up to the reality that not everyone in your life is for you. Not everyone deserves access to your spirits, your kindness, your love. You can't keep giving the deepest parts of yourself to people who only bring confusion, chaos, and pain. You were not created to constantly explain your worth, to fight for a place in someone's life, or to chase love that's not ready to be given. The truth is, manipulation comes dressed in smiles, toxicity wears the mask of charm, and people who know your heart will still try to bend it for their gain. But you must learn to outsmart them, not by fighting fire with fire, but by setting boundaries, protecting your peace, and reclaiming your power. You don't have to explain your silence. You don't need to justify your distance. When you start documenting patterns instead of promises, you begin to see clearly. You stop believing the sweet words that come with repeated wounds. You stop hoping they'll change when their actions keep screaming they won't. You learn to sit with yourself in stillness and strength without handing your mind over to people who haven't earned your trust. You stop begging for seats at tables where you're only tolerated. You stop shrinking just to be accepted by people who wouldn't know how to honor the real you. There's a sacred peace that comes when you no longer react, when you realize their behavior is a mirror of them, not a definition of you. You don't have to take their rejection personally. You don't have to carry the burden of their projections. What they said in anger, what they withheld in silence, what they did in betrayal, that's on them. That's who they are. Your job is not to fix broken people who refuse to face their damage. Your job is to become so grounded, so secure, so faithful to your healing that their noise no longer drowns your inner truth. And here's the most powerful truth of all. The right people will never make you question your worth. They will honor your heart. They will respect your boundaries. They will protect your name in rooms you're not in. You don't have to twist yourself into someone you're not just to be loved. You don't have to beg, explain, or defend your light. The ones who truly see you will make room for you without hesitation. Let that truth guide you. Let that truth free you. So walk forward with boldness, with wisdom, with strength. Leave behind the weight of needing to be understood by those who refuse to see you. Protect your peace. Guard your mind. Keep your heart soft, but your boundaries strong. You owe no one an explanation for choosing yourself. And in that quiet, powerful decision, you reclaim your life. Thank you for listening. Stay strong, stay free, and may God bless you on your journey.